Hi everybody. Thanks so much for coming to my channel. Welcome back. I'm Megan, the faithful fibromyalgia warrior, and behind me, you see this partly, there he is, my fuzzy greyhound, whose name is Juno. And him lazing on our bed, that's how he spends the majority of his day. So he may move at some point during this video, but chances are he is not going to. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the people who support me, who have left me encouraging and positive messages of support, and have shared, your thoughts on a similar faith as to what I have, and it's been great. That being a faith in God and Jesus being his son, who died on the cross, was buried, and resurrected on the third day, and that was so our sins could be forgiven. So I wanted to sort of put that out there as an opener, okay? And I've I've removed a few of my videos from a couple of years ago because it was all about being body positive, loving who I was as I was at that time, and sort of here's what I've here are some things I found and tried on today, and what do you think of them, and tell me your suggestions, and what do you think of these outfits? And I realized quickly that, what, first of all, I am not a fashion person. I look to others to get a sense of what's in style, what suits a woman of my age. Now, I'm not ashamed or embarrassed. I'm 48. I will be 49 at the end of this summer. So I realized, as much as I might enjoy fashion or the fashion, try-ons and whatever, that was never going to be me, because that was not a skill set I had. As I say, there's my son. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that over time, as I got closer and closer back to a relationship with God, my interests and sort of, to be fair, my interests as well as what I wanted to talk about became more evident. And there is nothing wrong with having a positive outlook, meaning even if you are overweight or morbidly obese, for example, you still need to love the fact that God made you. Now, does that mean God wants you to stay that way? I don't believe so. I believe God wants us all to take care of our bodies as best we can, to try to be healthy as best we can. And a big problem, now I can say this because from this time last year, I've lost 55 pounds or 20 kilos, okay, which is a lot of weight. And simply by eliminating a lot of food, not because I wanted, okay, let's go back a second. Yes, I needed to lose the weight, but I'm 5'5", okay? As you guys can probably guess from my name and my descriptor of my videos, I have fibromyalgia. I consider myself, and my husband called me as well, a warrior, because I try to stay positive. I try to get through life and be as joyful as I can be, in spite of the fibromyalgia pain, the restricted and limited mobility that I have, on top of other conditions like an irritated and inflamed sacroiliac joint, which is the joint, basically it's the soft tissue that connects your sacrum to the curved parts of your hip bone, if you will. So it's kind of, the sacrum is the bone that's between the bottom of your lumbar part of your the lumbar part of your spine, in your lower back, and just above where your tailbone is. So it's that piece of solid bone. And so there's like soft tissues that connect it to the outer hip bones. Okay, so for me, that joint, that soft tissue, is irritated and inflamed. As to what caused it exactly, who knows? I've had a disc injury that I'm still dealing with 7 years after the fact, 7.5 years after the fact. Disc bulged, couldn't stand up properly, couldn't sit properly, etc., etc. And while the spinal disc has retracted slightly, it is still misaligned, if you will. So chronic pain, chronic inflammation, and arthritis, and Raynaud's, and IBS, and thyroid issues, and anxiety, and depression, and also living with, well, I say living with, in recovery for bulimia, disordered eating, which, if you've not heard of that term, is having an unhealthy relationship with food as well as food addictions. So I say all of that because, things have changed. So when I first started eating a ketogenic diet just over a year ago, yes, my main goal was to lose weight. And hopefully reduce my inflammation and pain, which has happened. Okay, so it's dramatically reduced, 55 pounds worth. Not all of it fat. And that's the thing. People are like, wow, 55 pounds fat. Not all of it. A lot of it was water weight and retention. But I kind of am digressing. I wanted to talk more about, okay, sorry, before I go on again, I want to say that I was, as of the end of April of last year, just before our first lockdown ended here in England, I was weighing in at about 170, somewhere between 175 and 180 pounds. Okay, I'm 5'5". That is close to the amount of weight I put on for both my pregnancies with my kids, right? And I wasn't pregnant in this case. And how it distributed on my body was a bit different than it would have, obviously, if I was pregnant. But that's a lot of weight, especially for somebody who is only 5'5". I'm not some tall, like model tall person. It was not muscle, because given all my injuries and pain, I cannot work out at a gym. I cannot do regular exercises. Okay. So it's not like I was a tall person who had built up like who did bodybuilding and all the weight was purely muscle. That would be a different story altogether. That wasn't me. That was me carrying water weight, yes, and fat and inflammation, and therefore pain on all my joints, making everything I deal with medically like 1,000 times worse. I don't know why I talk with my hands, but I always have. So there we go. So what I realized, and I was just thinking about it today, okay, was that at the time that I decided to start this protocol, I honestly didn't think it would help. Changing my eating, I figured, forget it, it's not going to make a difference. It made a massive difference. And yes, I lost a lot of weight. And I've kept it off. I'm now weight stable. I don't know, around somewhere between 118 and 121, a little bit more during my cycle every month, and then a bit less when I'm not having my cycle every month. And not just hormonal fluctuations that we all go through as women. Joy. Being perimenopausal, I feel the fluctuations even more emotionally, etc. But what I realized that last year, when I saw the weight start to come off by following the ketogenic diet, right? I was so excited and I was overjoyed because finally this weight was coming off. Now, up until then, I was part of the body positive community on Instagram. And honestly, here's the thing. Everybody deserves love and respect, whether you are super skinny, whether you are born with missing a leg or an arm, or you're born with spina bifida, or you're perfectly healthy, or you have cerebral palsy, or you lose a leg in an accident, or you're blind, or you're overweight. It doesn't matter. White, black, Latino, Latina, Asian, South Asian as far as like from India or Pakistan, or coming from the West Indies, or coming from Africa, or coming from East Asia. So Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Taiwanese, Thai, all these exotic places that, you know, would be cool to visit someday. Whatever your color, your background, your religion, your culture, whatever, everybody deserves love and respect. Everybody. But I realized as the weight was piling on, and I had found out, or had it confirmed in March of 2020, just before lockdown, literally the week before, I was told that I have an underactive thyroid, so hypothyroidism. And that's also a key. So the symptoms I was dealing with IBS, with digestive issues, and with extreme cold and heat and all these other difficulties with body temperature and all that kind of stuff, and the weight creeping up. That was part of it. My triglycerides were abnormally high, concerningly high. And the interesting thing was when they started me on the hormone replacement medication, all I was told to do was try to cut out processed sugars and reduce the amount of fruit I eat. But that was it. And be mindful of anything that was carb-based, just, monitor it. But I wasn't told to cut it out. I wasn't told to watch out for fruits and so on. And so when I did that, I didn't see a difference. My weight didn't go down at all. And what I hadn't realized was how much inflammation and water retention I was dealing with at the time, right? It wasn't until I started kind of between the end of May and, let's say, mid-September, when I lost the most weight quickly. And I was like, wow, I'm thin. How is this possible? I just cut all this other stuff out. And the problem at the time was that I came to realize that although I was taking control of my health, right? Because for me, I think the best way that we can show a positive outlook is to make sure that we are healthy. People who carry extra weight deserve to be loved. However, they are going to be putting their hearts at risk and their kidneys and livers at risk if they don't eat the right kinds of food. I'm not telling them, you decide if you want to do ketogenic or not. That's not for me to tell you. That's a discussion you need to have with your general practitioner or whatever specialist you might be seeing. But as much as we all need to be accepted and loved, I realized that for me, the best way to feel good and to actually look after my body physically was to change how I ate and treat it much better than I was. And so I did that. And hooray, I lost weight, lots of it. But I also found that even, that my inflammation went down. My pain was reduced. It did not go away, okay? And it never will, because I live with chronic conditions. And anybody who promises you that if you eat like this, you can stop all your medication, you'll never be in pain again. You know what? Don't listen to them, honestly. You may find for yourself that some things you may be able to cut back on. Great. But if you truly live with chronic pain and inflammation and chronic autoimmune conditions, then you know that there is no cure. You could go into symptoms that go into remission, but to say that it will cure you and you can be medication free completely, I don't necessarily buy that. So maybe some people have, okay? But those of us who are at the extreme end of not just, oh, I feel tired or I'm sore, that will improve. But to promise that we will, be completely pain-free, take it with a grain of salt, okay? It will improve. Your pain will go down and how you feel will improve. But, you know what? Doesn't mean it's going to go away completely. So the reason I realized I didn't want to talk about what clothes are in fashion or here's my shopping haul. For people who do that and can do that and make money at it, good for them. I wish, but I get exhausted just looking at clothes, never mind having to try them on and take them off and show them off and have proper lighting and here's what I'm wearing and whatever. I don't have that eye for fashion. I don't. I take all my tips from other people, so I am glad they're out there on YouTube, but that is not me. Okay. And the ketogenic diet really helped me. Here's the thing. Even if you don't need to lose any weight, it could still be very beneficial because it may help you with, again, some of your chronic pain. The thing about fibromyalgia especially, and a lot of chronic pain conditions or autoimmune conditions is everybody is different. And you'll probably find that everything that's been recommended almost will not work for you or will work in very limited ways. So I don't give this as a guarantee. However, I find that even though I get tired, I'm not as tired as often and not to the same extent I used to be. So that's good. And I can actually sit down sometimes and type away and post something on my blog. Not every day and not for long, but it's better than what it used to be. So there is improvement. And that's a good thing. But what I realized as of September was that I was putting all my trust in the ketogenic diet. So just as I put all my trust and all my comfort and all of my beliefs and joy and finding, support from this body positive community, and yes, we all need to be positive about our bodies, okay? I could, because I'm coming from a bulimic background, I could never separate concern with health as far as, wow, I'm almost 60 pounds overweight, I'm not pregnant, this is not good for me, this is putting weight on my joints, this is putting extra pain on parts of me that are already inflamed and irritated. So I need to try to figure out how I can lose this weight in a healthy way. Okay, I could never do that without triggering the feeling of I've got to go buy diet pills and diet shakes and I've got to starve myself or binge and purge again. I couldn't separate those things. Not until I started to watch videos about eating in a ketogenic way and seeing that quite a few people out there reached this way of eating after a long history of either severely restricting their calories or suffering with bulimia or some other type of food disorder. So I felt a kinship. These were women who, primarily, wanted to be able to keep a healthy weight and yet not be focused on the triggers of what happened before. So, hey, if somebody is overweight, but they're happy, then I, I would never say anything. I would never suggest this to them. I never would do that. You know what? It's not for me to say. I just want to share that, look, this could be helpful, especially for those of us who do live with fibromyalgia and chronic pain and chronic inflammation. I am not promised, like I said, I am no way promising it will cure you, but it will dramatically reduce your symptoms. And the way I look at it, honestly, I would rather have reduced symptoms and follow this, even if it's not a complete cure. I would rather have reduced symptoms and have it help me find my recovery with my own bulimic history and history with food disorder and addictions than, you know what, to not follow it and have that consume me. But I realized come September that I was completely relying on these pearls of wisdom from these different YouTube people that I was following at the time about following the ketogenic/carnivore diet. And there's some really great YouTubers out there. There really are. And they have some really informative videos and they're helpful and they are really, really great, especially for me when I was first starting out. But then I realized I was starting to turn to them and their videos for my fulfillment. They're great for information, but I was turning to them when what I really needed at the time was God. That's it. I was not putting my trust in God. I was not following Jesus. I was not back into my Bible. I was just hoping that if I watched enough of these videos and got enough knowledge in my, head knowledge, that would help me. That would give me something to trust in and to cling on to. And I've come to see over time, since then, between late September last year and now, that in fact, it's backwards. I needed my medication to try to manage my pain. And I then needed the ketogenic diet to help reduce my pain and my inflammation and, yes, my weight, because it all played together, so that I could be a lot healthier, so I could have more energy, so that I could reduce my brain fog and realize that the best gift I could give myself from a physical point of view on this earth was to take care of the body that God gave me, to be grateful for it, injuries, medical ailments and all, and be grateful, absolutely. And so I did that. But I realized as much as I followed these great YouTubers and their advice and their videos were fantastic, there was still something missing in my heart and in my soul. And I thought of it yesterday, right? So life, okay, without God, let's say, to me it was like, picture a wall that's there's been a hole punched through it or knocked into it, whether someone punched a hole in it or a piece of furniture crashed into it and now there's a big hole in the plaster, right? That's life, isn't it? Holes here and there. And as much as I needed to get healthy physically so that my brain could be more focused and I could, put my attention on other things. So, yeah, so while life is kind of like a wall that's got a hole punched in it, we can try to, it's kind of like, okay, we can cover the hole with different things and the hole's still there, but nobody else can see it. So that could be me last year getting thinner than I can remember and being like, oh, well, I need new this and I need new that because my clothes don't fit me anymore and I get to go shopping and filling my life with new clothes. And yes, like getting new stuff and it's a size that it took me a while to get used to saying, oh, actually, I'm not this anymore. I'm down to this. Wow. But kind of like hanging a picture over a hole in the wall, nobody else can see the hole. The hole's still there. And even though I was now eating a much better way, I was healthy, my husband was getting on board with me, he was getting healthier, and that was all good. But I realized the hole in my spiritual wall, in my heart, was the fact I wasn't close with God at that point. Now, luckily, we both made our way back to God through the pandemic, through virtual church services. We connected with people that we knew who were in Ottawa in Canada last year. And as I'm sure I've mentioned here, if not here, then I've certainly put it in my blog. But we were restored back to God November last year. So, in other words, we weren't making an official membership pledge to the church in Ottawa because it didn't make sense. We live here in England, not in Canada, and they're 5 hours time difference. So we joined them and we attended their virtual services and we attended small groups virtually, and it's fantastic. And we have a couple that we're still really good friends with that we catch up with usually every weekend, depending on any last minute plans. But we had relationship with God again. And so at that point, that relationship was like when you take plaster fill and you fill in a hole in the wall with plaster or whatever that patchwork stuff is, right? So now the hole is filled. And that's because of restoring my relationship with God, which I'm grateful for. So I think if I hadn't gotten healthy and wasn't following a much better way of eating for me, I think I would have been constantly focused on nothing but, oh, I'm in too much pain. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, it hurts. I can't recall. I'm brain fog and I can't do anything. And that would have caused, despair and despondency once again. So I absolutely believe that for me, God helped me to find these YouTubers and learn how to eat in a way that's actually good for me, that reduces as much as possible bloating and inflammation and therefore pain and weight gain and all that stuff. It's not my focus anymore. I get to enjoy my recovery every day now from bulimia because that's not my focus. And I think because I was able to take my focus away from my physical pain and challenges, because I was now healthy, I realized, wait a minute, I've hung a picture, if you will, over this hole in the wall, but the hole's still there. I want to fill the hole up. I don't want to have this massive hole in the wall. And so both my husband and I got restored to God November last year. Now, we knew eventually that there would be church happening again in person. And so on August the 1st, we were restored to God's church, which basically just means we have declared the church we were attending virtually here in England our home church. And this is where we want fellowship. This is where we can build friendships and really get to be a part of things. And we meet with the East London congregation of the London Church of Christ. And where we meet on a Sunday right now is we gather at a high school in Loughton, so which is South Essex. We're in Northeast Essex. It's about an hour's drive. It's not too far away. And I look at being restored into a church and declaring official membership as kind of like, you know what, the necessities have been sorted in that we've been restored to God. We are faithful, deeply faithful disciples, and we are right with God. That's the most important thing. But we also want to have a fellowship. We want to, now that we can meet in person and not just virtually all the time, we want a home church, a home fellowship group to to meet with, to get to know, to build relationships with. And I look at it as when you've repaired, let's say, a hole in the wall and filled it with that plaster stuff, restoring your relationship with a church is kind of like putting that brand new coat of paint that now covers not just the wall, but the repair work that was done in that hole. So it looks all brand new. And you can carry on through life with God, even if, you don't necessarily declare a registered membership, like this is where we make our donations. This is where, if it's tax deductible, this is where it goes through. You can get through life without doing that, right? But isn't it even better when you're part of a fellowship that now you can meet in person and see each other? I think so. And so through all the craziness of life, over this past year and a half, almost 2 years, I've come to realize two things. That one, as much as I have needed to eat a ketogenic diet, and basically it's heavily carnivore for my health and my well-being physically, I have more importantly needed my relationship with God. And now, having officially joined this congregation as a full-time member, saying, we're here, we're committed, we want to get to know you guys, let's hang out, let's build friendships, let's build family. That is the ultimate thing. And so I know it's a bit of a long-winded explanation, but I know it's been a while since I posted. And I realized that life carries on, regardless of COVID, regardless of any of the restrictions that we've been under as a society. Other things in life haven't stopped. There are still battles happening in the Middle East between Israel and the other non-Jewish states. There are still probably, ISIS is probably still recruiting and trying to bomb places, etc. It's not like they're going to be following the rules of, well, wear a face mask before you go out there and, cause havoc. Why would they care, right? That's still going on. There's still all sorts of drama and scandals happening in the government and with politicians, with famous people. All that stuff is still carrying on. It's just we haven't really thought about it for a year and a half. At least I haven't, right? And so it's kind of the same thing. Our life is still full of challenges and trials. COVID isn't such a challenge or a trial because why? Well, because most of us have been vaccinated and the restrictions are almost all gone. And so we're moving forward. And now we realize, oh, wow, there are other things happening in the world that we kind of forgot about because COVID took a front seat for such a long time. And, like for example, my 20-year-old is having his first job interview on Friday for a volunteer position. And hopefully he'll be starting there in a week or so, which is fantastic. My younger son, who's now 18, had decided last week, no, he didn't really want to follow the house rules of you got to be home at least one night a week. We'd like to see you for one family dinner, so he's out. He's gone out to go stay with his friends for now. And that's hard because I think all moms and dads, but all moms for sure would agree with me in that eventually they're going to leave, but even when it happens, you're kind of like, oh wow, they left. They're adults. They've gone to do their own thing, and that feels a bit like chaos, But through all of that, God has become my focus. Honestly and truly, I know for myself, I would not have been able to focus on God if I had not already started to take care of healing my physical body because it was so bad and I was in so much pain and agony, I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't focus on anything else in my life. And then as I started to get healthier and I started to notice some of my bulimic patterns coming up to the forefront, some of not so much the purging, but just the desire to when I was eating. Finding that going for long fasting periods or restricting my intake for a long time was suddenly an appeal to me. Oh, how much weight I wonder how much weight I can actually lose if I just keep going and I don't eat. And for me, that's unhealthy. It's dangerous. And so I was ready, though. I saw it and I was ready to go, no, I don't want to go that way. And I was ready to find recovery. So it took me to get healthy to realize to be fully healthy, I need God. And now that my health is on track and I'm walking with God as much as I can and as best I can every day, far from perfect, obviously, but as I'm walking with God daily, I'm realizing how many more things I'm able to think about and have insight into because my brain is cleared out. The fog is lifted. So I needed to get healthy physically in order to see I needed God. And once I was back with God to see, oh, wow, look at all these insights, all these things that are in the Bible that I don't remember being there and that I'm so glad I saw and that, I could be inspired by. So this is a long one, guys. If you stuck through the whole of it, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I want to also say that I really do appreciate all your support. I really, really do. I want to be able to make content all the time. But then I get tired or I'm in a bit of pain or I'm not quite sure what to share or what to say to you guys. So I just don't do anything. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I know that through the craziness of this life, God will be there for me. Doesn't mean like the craziness will stop or there will be no problems or everything will be honky-dory, because God never promises that. I will still have trials. I will still have challenges. I will still have heartache, but at least I know that God is there. So, I think that was it for today. I mean, after all this, that's a lot anyways, right? So, guys, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for your support. If you liked the video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, it'd be great if you did. And I will try to get something up within the next week, if not sooner. All right, guys, this is me for now saying thank you and appreciate everything. And I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye for now.